Welcome to Your Nonprofit Power. I'm Amy Fazio with Magnify Your Mission. I am a nonprofit growth consultant, and I love to help nonprofits learn easier ways to create more money, more mission, with a whole lot more peace of mind. I am thrilled to be with you here today on Giving Tuesday. Say hello if you're joining us live. Let us know where you're coming in from. Remember, when you're joining us here on StreamYard, you want to click above. You want to hit the StreamYard.com/Facebook or LinkedIn, depending on where you're coming in from, so your comments show up on the stream. We'd love to hear from you and have you participate as we talk through this awesome edition of Your Nonprofit Power live stream, where we're talking to Leslie Benedetto on Giving Tuesday for a very specific reason. We want to help you embrace your conscious leadership game. What the heck does that mean? We're talking mindfulness today with Leslie, and there is nobody better to spend time with and talk about the things that hold us back in life. Leslie brings such a rich history to the conversation, from a fitness background, health coaching, community building, nonprofit, a fierce mama who takes care of her tribe of people. And she's going to be joining us here in just a second as we get started to talk about how conscious leadership is a key piece on your path to becoming a fearless fundraiser. So join me in welcoming Leslie to the stage. Let's see if we can get her up on screen. Hey, Patricia, good to see you. Leslie, welcome.
Hello.
Happy Giving Tuesday to you.
And happy Giving Tuesday to you as well. It's good to be here.
It's good to be here because we're talking about becoming a fearless fundraiser. You know, Leslie, we've been talking a lot about this the last couple of months. This transition for nonprofits leaders to move from the hustle into the fearless fundraising. And I just thought, Giving Tuesday, who better to talk to about the mindset game and the shifts that have to happen in that transition. So thanks for being here today.
Well, I am thrilled to be here. And while we get started, or as we get started, because it is Giving Tuesday, and I feel like for everyone involved, it's like this is the lead up, and then it's like giving season till the end of the year. So let's just do a big inhale. Bring your shoulders up to your ears. Let it go. And let's do that one more time. Just a big inhale. Take those shoulders up and let it go a bit.
Yeah. We put a lot of weight and pressure on this day. Sometimes we really do put a lot of stress and intensity and expectation on this day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because I know from my own background working with nonprofits and whatnot, that when I get all these emails, I start to feel it too. Like, oh my God, it's Giving Tuesday. Everybody need, so I get it. Like, I feel it.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming as the recipient of the emails, just as it can be overwhelming in being the sender of the communication.
Yeah.
And so that's why you're here today, right? We've been spending a lot of time talking about, what holds us back from really calling in that those gifts, and really just accepting that Giving Tuesday and year end for me. I don't know how everyone else looks at it, but I see it as a celebration of everything we've done all year round, and this is the culmination. Less of a heavy push in my mind, and more of an opportunity and an invitation. And that's what I want for our community, right? Is to really kind of sit back and celebrate, because once you have the plan, something else kicks in, right? We work with clients all the time in the Magnify Your Mission system. Leslie's a member of the mastermind, and we talk planning all the time. We will work with you to build out the plan, the sound plan. But once you have the plan, and once Giving Tuesday's here, then what? Then you have to do this release, right?
Yes.
Process.
And I think we're like building up to it with the plan and getting to the release. um, that's when a lot of those what ifs, fears, uncertainty start to show up, and they can kind of wreak havoc with you emotionally and physically. And I think that's what really can be a part of leading into burnout,
Yeah.
especially for nonprofit leaders. Um, is especially with people when you start working with someone like you and they have this plan, and it may be a different way of approaching things than what they're used to. And they have this plan.
You're in ditto.
And that can really create issues with your thinking, your feelings. And if you don't take the time to become aware of that, you can, that's how we get it talking about derailing or sabotaging ourselves
Off track.
or get off track.
Yeah.
And it's common, and I don't think enough people talk about it.
You often we talk about in making the comparison to even training, physical training, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the race, we envision the breaking through the ribbon at the end of the race, right? But really understanding it's the plan, it's the steps, it's the
process.
training.
Yeah, it's what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And there's a lot of uncertainty involved. And for some reason, when we face uncertainty, we always put more weight on what might be negative versus the positive aspects, especially when you have a plan and maybe working with you to create a new vision or a new plan. There's an uncertainty there.
Yeah.
However, uncertainty is not risk. Okay, it's different. Uncertainty is we just don't really know certain things. They could go, it's new. It's really more neutral. There are benefits and risks, but for some reason, when we get into uncertainty, we automatically assume the risk and the negative outweighs anything good that could happen.
Well, I love that uncertainty isn't necessarily risk. It might be, but it's not necessarily risk. And I think people often equate uncertainty with this feels too risky. This is a too big of a goal. Leslie, I like
negative. Yeah.
Then they focus on kind of worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to call it goal trauma because for me, when I'm working with people in the Giving Tuesday space, and I don't overdo Giving Tuesday. I work with clients in helping it, but guys, it's just another campaign like every other campaign. There is nothing special or magical about it. It is the same formula as every other fundraising campaign. And we can help you build out that plan and that formula. But what I find that trips people up more than fundraising muscle, and Patricia is agreeing with us, by the way, she's claiming rough stuff. It is because it's a mindset game. And I promise you to break through to that next level, the plan is usually not the problem. The good ideas are not the problem. Usually groups are not struggling like, oh, if only we could think of one more thing to do. That is not the problem.
Right.
It's the confidence and the leadership ability to embrace our role of uncertainty as leaders. That's in fact the space we end up spending the most amount of time in, right, Leslie? That's kind of what you're saying.
Yes, and what that is where the practice comes in. Like, first of all, you've got to slow down enough in your mind to realize these feelings of unease, irritability, even, or where you start to get manic-y, like that, when you start to notice those things, that's when it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And so that you can respond versus react.
Yeah.
And that's where the mindfulness comes in. It's really, people confuse mindfulness with meditation, breathing, and those can be components, but mindfulness is really just taking time to check in to see maybe what's going on around me and what's going on inside me. And then not judging it, not being critical, but observing it. Oh, I'm really agitated right now. This uncertainty is really creating agitation in me. You don't have to go on to be like, what's wrong with me? Why am I, because that's what we end up. But with mindfulness, it's just observing. I'm feeling really agitated right now because of this uncertainty, because of, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think that's so it's uncomfortable, right? So I was just working with a client yesterday on their 2023 budget, right? So developing their 12-month fundraising plan and looking at expenses, right? Developing their budget. And every line item. So we move through every line item in your revenue plan, right? That's how I work with people to do their 12-month fundraising plan. And in fact, Friday, we have a masterclass on that. Patricia, you're going to be there. Uche's on the line. Uche's going to be there.
Hey,
Uche's here. I haven't connected with Uche. Welcome. And it was interesting moving through each line. There was so much shame and blame in the explanation for each line. Oh, well, Giving Tuesday, I don't know. I don't want to set a big goal because that one never works for us. Like it's some magic thing that you're trying on. Like it's the glass slipper. It just doesn't fit for us. Or it's or the events didn't do as well because we just didn't get it out enough information. Or the board wants to do this, but I know in my gut it's not a good idea. Right? All of this story that went on, and really it's just an Excel spreadsheet, right? It's just an Excel spreadsheet. And in our effort to get more clear on where the revenue potential was, we ended up unpacking all of these stories. And I love when you use the phrase shame and blame, Leslie, because by looking at it without the judgment is really the only path to move through it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to look at it, and there's important things to learn. And the shame, nothing, you can't bring about positive change or anything using shame or blame. It doesn't work with parenting. It doesn't work when we try to lose weight or eat better. It doesn't work anywhere. Shame and blame somehow feels mentally useful. Like if I shame and blame myself enough, something will change. Yeah. But it is not what brings about actual change.
Yeah, long-lasting actual change.
Right.
Patricia works with youth in the Oakland boroughs of San Francisco, and I'm guessing she would agree, right? It's about presenting and providing other opportunity and experiences versus what I've done in my community or what my community has done wrong to be in this place. I think that shame game is really destructive. And in the Magnify Your Mission system, we do have to look at the mindset. Yeah, we're going to move through the revenue plan. You're going to come up with your fundraising plan. You're going to come up with your strategic plan. But there's so much trauma around talking about these goals that we end up preventing ourselves from writing them down in the first place because the stories, I think, get so loud in there. Of why we can't achieve those goals or why it wouldn't work or why it didn't work. But I like what you're saying. If we can look at it and say, hey, we wanted to raise $100,000 through matching, through major donors, but we only got to 60. Well, what happened there? And instead of saying it just didn't work because I didn't put enough time into it and I ran out of energy and I didn't get that email that I said I was going to do, it's not because of those things. And it's okay. We can just look at it and either adjust the goal for next year or provide you more time and space to put toward it next year, right? But something's got to change. Doing the same strategy, expecting a different result, in the shame and blame game is not going to get you, try a different strategy.
Right. And I think sometimes when you're leading a nonprofit and whatnot, you almost feel like you have to go do that to the board of directors or something. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And, this didn't work. And
You know
it's not.
what? I love that point. And I'm going to actually reverse it because I think it's true for the flip side too. I've been in the situation where you had to go to the board of directors and justify, right? Explain like, oh, we failed because of this reason. And it becomes a much more public experience. But I've also had to do it showing what we've done well, right? When we
Right.
didn't have, right? We didn't have goals. So I had to go in and present at the end of the year and saying, we knocked this out of the park and we did this and we got this and a new car and presents for everybody. And really what was happening was I was burning myself out. I was driving my staff crazy. I was driving my husband crazy. But I could show those results.
Right.
And it was a time in my leadership journey when I was moving through the stages of leadership in my mind from what I call a social entrepreneur to a fearless fundraiser, when I realized my job actually isn't to have all the answers.
Right.
Turns out my job is to help this community design what they want for themselves and move in that direction.
And in order to do that, you need to be able to learn to allow space for that.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you feel like you have to have all the answers, then it's oftentimes people don't feel that the space isn't there to allow other people to maybe step in
Yeah.
and offer solutions or strategy,
I like that. Yeah, you have to allow for the space. It's a creative process, right? Leadership is a creative process in so many ways.
Right. And what we find they're actually doing some good research in the UK on mindfulness in the workplace.
Yeah.
And when we bring this into how we work, it does create improve creativity, idea generation, and disrupting. And I love the word disrupt. If you know me, I have on my arm.
I put it in your bio.
As a tattoo. So, but everybody thinks of disruption as bad. But disrupt means we're not going to do things the way we've done them. We're going to change. And a lot of time, so the research shows that then you are able to disrupt the way you've always done it, which has led to burnout and,
Yeah.
shame, blame,
Yeah.
all of that destructive parts of it.
And for me, what was destructive for me on that cycle, when I was at the height of that cycle, and it was, specifically during a period where I was leading an organization and we doubled the revenue in 2 years from $2 to $4 million. So it was intense hustle.
Right.
But the pattern was I'd get momentum, I'd get excited, we'd get some results, we'd have some wins or a significant win. And then I was let down. The momentum stalled out. The exhaustion set in. My frustration grew. My fear of how am I going to replicate that win again kicked in, and I was on the floor. And then I had to recover from that. And it was years of this up and down cycle.
Because what happens, the thing is, it's like that success thing. You hit that goal, they're going to expect me to do that again and exceed it.
Yeah.
And it just took everything I had to get here.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to have to meet that or exceed it. And which is a false fear.
It's a false fear, but man, did I believe it, for decades, not for a minute, for decades. I almost measured my value at that time. This is becoming a therapy session for me.
Right. No, but it's,
you got a minute?
Yeah.
I think for me, the part of that at that time was my own misunderstanding of value and success, and my And so it was often, I thought the value I brought simply were in the results I provided. And when there was any lag in demonstrating results, I didn't I didn't feel like I was contributing. I didn't feel that I'd be worthy of the position or the role. And so when you're measuring only on hit, 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 you're not really measuring the success of building the community and the engagement and giving people a chance to step up.
The productivity trap.
Ah, yeah. Anyone else can relate to that? The product, you almost get kind of in that cycle of what's next? What do I have to produce
Right.
next?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, every position I've had in fundraising has been you live or die by those numbers, right? I'm covering my own salary a lot of the time, just like a lot of these folks are. Yeah, yep. Patricia is relating to that. Oh, and is interested in the UK research. Yeah, what is up with that research? So you said that it links mindfulness, which is this awareness.
They're going in and doing, and they're just starting to really do some good research on this. And from what I've been studying, it's mainly occurring in the UK.
Yeah,
And but this is where they're going into corporations and businesses and doing like weekly workshops on techniques, and so that it's a corporate culture.
yeah,
But I think on a smaller scale, you can start that with conscious leadership, because really conscious leadership is mindful. It's becoming, conscious, you're aware, and it can be done.
it can be done, and it requires this giving up of the blame or shame, right? Kind of abandoning the blame or shame patterns that we have. Really looking at what's going on without the judgment. Why did Giving Tuesday? Why didn't we get to our goal last year? Do we need to lower that goal, or do we need to put more time and energy into hitting the goal?
Right.
It's really the only question to be at. There's nothing wrong with not hitting a goal. It's how we react to it. And we understand that they're not just random numbers that we're putting down, but they're based in strategy. We're going to grow our grant sponsorships by $100,000. We're not going to grow by $100,000 by doing more of the same. We are going to take $10,000 and invest in a grant writing consultant. We believe that investment will lead to an additional $100,000 in revenue. There's a lot of uncertainty in that, but it's a good plan. It's a logical plan.
It's uncertainty, but it's not necessarily risk or negative.
Mm-hmm.
But that uncertainty is what really messes with people's mind. They've done research on uncertainty, ambiguity, that people would rather gamble and lose all their money, like gambling, because they know the known risk that they may very well lose all their money, than like pay the $10,000
Yeah.
for the grant writing consultant.
Oh man, I love that. They'd rather we're putting it all on black versus I'm going to bet on myself.
Yep.
And I'm going to invest this $10,000 into this software system, into this position, into this consultant, into this new, curriculum. And
I think there's actually a doctor at Yale, or like he has a whole research center. This is all they study. And
what is it called? Fear of ambiguity aversion? Is that what it's
now I can't even say the word. Ambiguity, aversion, or intolerance. And it's very, it hits you in every aspect of your life. Like people think it's only for, economics or business or whatever, but it's really, if you can't, you have to learn how to tolerate that uncertainty, that feeling of being uncomfortable. It's
Yeah.
actually something that you kind of have to learn.
It's a leadership muscle.
You have to recognize it first for what it is, and then learn how to tolerate that, and then model that to the people that are working with you.
Yeah, interesting point. And I know you're going to give us some tactics to look at in our journey of doing this, because it is a journey, and I imagine from what I can tell, it appears to be a lifelong journey um, of growing that leadership, that awareness and muscles, because the triggers keep coming, right? The things that can kind of make us feel uncomfortable, they keep coming at us, especially as people who are feeling courageous to do bold things. You're going to be challenged, and so being aware of this ambiguity, aversion, this discomfort with not knowing. When we do strategic planning, when I work with clients on strategic planning, it's about setting goals. And there is so much head trash for people around setting goals. You've seen it in the fitness world. I know you
Oh
have, and in the training, in the health world.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, because immediately we go to that, either I don't know how the hell what I would do to get there specifically. I don't know each and every step it will take to get there. So why bother starting?
And that's
Or
called task ambiguity. And that is the number one reason for procrastination. I know
yeah,
what I have to do. I just don't really know where to start.
yeah. I know where I want to get to. I just don't know. Yeah.
Hmm.
When we can build those things out, we can make those decisions. But what I see leaders do, where we can get in our own way sometimes, is when there is that discomfort of not always knowing the exact next thing to do, not having every single answer. When we say we're going to raise $5,000 for Giving Tuesday, and I don't know what I'm going to do differently to get there, I think what we end up doing is we look for excuses or we look for distractions. And this is what I call the busy work.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times, the nonprofit leaders I work with at the beginning have schedules that are ridiculously full.
Hmm.
And through the course of time, we start to decipher and discern which of those activities are actually meaningful and which are busy work. Because if we can just allow ourselves to sit with the discomfort of, I don't know how to solve this problem over here, so I'm going to fill up my space with all this other stuff, we might actually solve this problem over here and skip all the other missing stuff. I don't know how to grow Giving Tuesday from $5,000 to $25,000. If I could raise that extra $20,000, that would allow me to not do the fundraiser in March,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
Rather than sitting with, how do I do that? What are the boring, unsexy steps to do that? Because quite frankly, they are not that sexy, right? Raising money isn't all that fat flash and flare. More often than not, it's making sure your systems are in place. We can help you with all that.
Hmm.
But we got to work with Leslie. We got to think through that, breaking through the mindset of it doesn't have to be hard. Yes, we're uncomfortable with ambiguity, but we can practice that skill.
Hmm.
I think those are two really important steps. The third piece, before I hand it over to you to show us some
Sure.
techniques, I know that we wanted to touch base on today, which was, I'm really honing in on this year. And this goes back to sort of what I've learned about community building from the very beginning, from watching my mom build a home that was such a central space in our community. Our friends gathered when I was younger. My teenage friends, as teenagers, we gathered there very often. And the things she did to make it a homey, welcoming space for people who feel very uncomfortable most of the time,
Right.
teenagers, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, go pitch to a teenager if you really want to get asked the questions. But what I saw my mom do from an early age, and what I've learned over and over again as a leader, is there's an art to both the giving thanks and showing appreciation to your donors, but honoring you in your role of receiving gifts and
Hmm.
receiving thanks and receiving donations. You can't have a season of giving without receiving,
Right.
because otherwise the universe is just like, what?
Mhm.
Right? It's a relationship.
Right.
And so be gracious with yourself in your role of receiving. Um, and I think that's just giving yourself permission that have the plan, do the plan, and sometimes that's enough, even if the outcome didn't turn out exactly as you wanted, or maybe it exceeded what you expected. But there's art in receiving gifts, in giving people a chance to step up and do something in the journey.
Yeah, and part of the art of receiving is taking the time to acknowledge.
Mm,
I think sometimes it becomes so hectic and that there isn't just time to be like, wow, we did this. We
yeah,
and that um
yes.
just that gratitude. And that's just a personal thing. It doesn't have to be like, I'm sure shouted from the rooftops or whatever, but I'm talking about feeling that for yourself. There's so much research on how important it is to feel gratitude
Yeah,
and to feel what it is to receive.
yeah.
They actually is an important part of being able to feel. But if we never get out of, but if we're always up in the head with whatever, you don't have time to feel that.
You can't do both. You can't hang out in the shame and blame world
Mm-mm.
and be gracious in receiving your own successes and appreciation from others. Uh, it's an interesting blockage that I think is real for a lot of us. Um,
And it's kind of like a cultural thing. You kind of have to go against
maybe
some
what we've been
norms of
taught.
how people act in mind, to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'll drive my husband crazy because somebody will be like, "Well, I wanna bring to the party my grandmother's potato salad."
Hmm.
And I hate potato salad. I could care that we have way too much stuff already, right?
Hmm.
But for that person to contribute is so meaningful and adds so
Right.
much to the party, in addition to the potato salad, which ended up being a big hit, by the way,
Right.
which is always the case.
Which is your personal bias against something, right?
This is my own personal bias. But, giving people the chance to contribute is just such an important part. Instead, that shame and blame game gets in our head of nobody cares, nobody's going to respond, Giving Tuesday never works. It's stressful. If you have a charge against Giving Tuesday, I invite you to consider that some of these things might be true for you because there should be no charge. It should be a series of 7 emails that are written as early as June if you felt like it. And they go out with a live video. And that's Giving Tuesday. It's not some magical time of year that you're straight, it's like the money game, right? And Leslie, I gotta get your birthday present out. I might go get it right now.
Oh yeah.
The Make It Rain
Yeah.
money run.
Um, and with receiving, there is an art to that.
Yeah.
And if you don't create um, space for that as a leader and openness to receive, there may be someone sitting on your board, a volunteer, someone who works for you that already has answers to solve whatever problem and glitch, but you're not open to it. And if they're afraid that they're going to get shamed and blamed if it doesn't work out, then they're not going to come forward.
Mhm.
So when receiving is, really about also more than just receiving funds,
Yes. Yes, of
but
course.
day to day, are you open to receive ideas, feedback?
Yeah, and I wanna balance that with, are you open to receiving it, and do you have the easy systems in place to allow you to do that?
Well, yeah.
Right? So you know me, we're gonna balance it out. It's the head, and that's why in the 6 steps of the Magnify Your Mission system, conscious leadership is one of them, right? But it is the one we can work with the others. In fact, when I work with clients, they have some things in place. but there's always room to move the leadership, the conscious leadership, that mindfulness, that spirit of receiving. We've done the plan. Even if it doesn't work, we're going to come up with the solution. It is figure outable. And I think when you look at Giving Tuesday in isolation, it's the year end. It's make or break versus we're raising $250,000 this year. Giving Tuesday is 20,000 of that. I'm going to put that amount of percentage of my time and effort into raising it, right? When you look at it in the whole picture and can keep it in perspective, we divvy out the time and energy a little differently too.
Mhm.
Talk to us a little bit how we can develop this mindfulness muscle.
You know, people always talk about mindfulness, and it is a practice, which means that you can't, in the moment when you need it the most, call upon it if you haven't practiced it. And it also needs to be just a part of your day and realistic and meaningful. I was working with a business coach years ago, and she kept telling me, you need to learn how to pause. You need to learn how to pause. Well, I'm like, yeah, pause. But that was really, I, it was good advice, except that there was no telling me how to do that. Because if you're not used to pausing and no one tells you how to practice that, then it doesn't happen.
Mhm.
So practice the pause. And this is common through mindfulness. You'll see practice the pause is a common theme and a really great place to start. And that is just throughout your day, pause.
Mhm.
What's going on in my space? Am I cold? Am I too warm? And then what's going on inside? Am I feeling uncertain? Is this bothering, and it doesn't have to be long, drawn out. It's just what's going on? Where am I? Because how many times do we and I have to one way that I'm starting to practice this um, is I park in the driveway and I walk through the garage into the house. And do you know, it's like I'm blindfolded. I'll walk into the house and have no idea if my husband's car was parked in the garage or not. And then I'm in the house and I'm like, is my husband home? I don't even know. I mean, talk about it, but that's how we get, right? We drive, we whatever, and we're not even seen. I don't even know what I see in the garage, you know? So, like, practicing walking through the garage and looking around.
Versus going through a million things in our head of what we should be doing or didn't do or could be
Yes.
doing. I got to get that email out. I gotta do.
Yes. And so, an easy way to do this is when you brush your teeth,
Mhm.
when you're washing your hands. Certain times you just start to practice. When I'm washing my hands, I'm just going to take, oh, how am I feeling? I don't even know,
Mhm.
or what is going on around me? And starting to practice that when you're running meetings, getting in, yeah, staying in the moment, getting in, sitting down at the table, and instead of just jumping right in, can you pause, slow down, give
Yeah, for example, why do I feel like wringing that person's neck right now? If I pause to
right,
say, "Why is this making me feel this way?"
what's really going on here that this person is triggering me?
Right,
Yeah.
'cause it's not the person, right? It's something that is inside of me, and if I give myself a chance, I might figure it out versus reacting to the nonsense in the room, which is not where my attention or energy, is best spent, right?
And you can also, you have found it helpful in when dealing with people in situations, um, with meetings or when you're doing an event and someone starts to get agitated or whatnot. I will then be like, oh, they're anxious. they're not angry at, they're getting anxious about. So then you can be like, I don't need to respond to that emotion right
Yeah.
now. Because it's not about, but you have to be like, oh, I think I see
You
what
have to be grounded
Mhm.
to I will say I like to say that my job is really to facilitate difficult conversations, right? Because it's not the easy stuff that people call me in for. It's the we're having trouble with too much busy work. People are moving in different directions. We're talking, we're not, we have a lot of we're doing a lot of programs, but we're not really able to demonstrate the scope of the impact we're having, right? Those are tough, close to home, close to heart conversations. And it's an interesting skill that I continue to develop, which is more quickly seeing what's people getting triggered and seeing the humanity of their response to it
Right.
versus taking it personally as the consultant. Because it's not, it's you're
Mhm.
asking difficult questions. And as you said, providing space for people to move through them. I see what you're saying. Years of practicing the pause to figure out what's happening inside of me has helped me be better at it and
Yeah.
helping other people do it.
Yeah.
Um, it's something that's just constant, right? And in fundraising, we see it because it can be trigger such rejection feelings, right? When you're asking for help or money and you see people saying no, or worse yet, not saying anything in response, it can feel so personal.
Mhm.
But really, it's just one of a few things going on.
Mhm.
Your cause is not their thing,
Right.
and that's okay, right?
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
doesn't make any one of us a bad person.
Right.
It could be that our message isn't honing in a way that's resonating with them. And we can look at that. We can make adjustments to that.
Mhm.
Um, it could, and there are lots of layers to that. But those things, the faster we can get and identify what to fix, the more smooth it goes and the less stress and the less busyness. And that's, I think, your point around mindfulness and leadership. If we can be more open to these things, it actually helps solutions surface faster and move through some challenges.
Yeah, and it can get rid of some negative dynamics and interactions, I think, that start to happen.
Yeah.
If you're always just reacting, in mindfulness, it's really, we can step back, we can observe, so we can respond
Yeah.
versus react, react, react.
I remember getting a call from a client who was negotiating a sizable gift from local government to help with a capital project. And in every week it was an update on this money, right? It was in the bank. It was almost in the bank to it's never going to happen to maybe next week.
Hmm. Right.
And I just remember getting the calls and saying, "Oh my God, now they're saying this." I'm like, let them say what they want. We have our strategy. We're working our strategy. If this happens, we know that we'll end up going to the media and letting the community know that this was a decision our elected officials made. If that happens, then we'll talk to our private sector companies to put some pressure on. There's always a solution. But when we're so busy reacting emotionally to things that are changing constantly, and your environment will constantly be changing, you're losing precious energy in actually deciding your next best step because you're spinning your wheels in reacting to what's already happened.
And that's what mindfulness is really. It's never going to be calm. Like life is never going.
Never going to be calm.
It's so like what learning to like be mindful, meditating, deep breathing.
Mhm.
Anyone can go sit in a quiet room and do that and come out and be like, okay, I'm calm. But you have to know how to do that when everything in the midst
Yeah,
of everything, so that you don't start going, everything can be going here,
yeah,
but you can be like, and I'm going to practice the pause for a second
yeah.
here and let some of this spin on by before I,
Jump
respond.
in.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's such a good visual too. And in that fundraising example is recognize this as just spinning drama and choose not to engage in it.
A lot of it's noise. It's just noise.
It's just noise. So we want to really help kind of develop the simple path and develop the muscle to say no to the noise, say no to the add-ons, the yes buts. It'll only take a few minutes. This won't be a big deal. We can do this too. It'll be a quick $1,500. This shouldn't be a problem. it's
Well,
it's use that time, protect that time to
I
be.
think what it helps is because you do have a system. And so when things start to come at you, you practice the pause to say, does this fit in to the system we have in place and our plan?
Yeah, and I love to work with what we call the nonprofit entrepreneurs, the middle stage of growth, because they're so savvy at bringing in the deals. They're good at finding those matches, and in their conscious leadership journey, they are often working on this skill of the pause to say, yeah, I can get it if I want, but do I even want it?
And I so understand. That's me. I think when that's me when I take that test, because I'm like, yeah, and love to do things and be busy or whatever. But after a while, it was like, that's really not in my best interest or in the organizations to
I
keep.
like to say I'm a dog with a bone. I just have to make sure I've got the right bone. I'll fight
Yeah,
like hell with like a
right.
dog with a bone, but sometimes I got to back up and make sure I've got the right.
Yeah, and that pause helps you be like, okay, how is this going to fit into our system, our plan?
Yeah. Okay, so we got power of the pause,
Hmm.
practicing it, and then loving kindness meditation. Talk to us about some.
Loving kindness meditation is just a way, and this originally comes from Buddhism. And then this is a form that I took from Thich Nhat. I'm going to mess up his name now. Um,
Not.
Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah.
And if you ever, honestly, if you ever need to read things about mindfulness, happiness, read his stuff. There's just a feeling that engulfs you as you read his words, truly. And
Mm,
so I think I kind of created this from reading that I'd done from him. But this is a way just to practice some deep breathing and to calm the mind. So if you want, we can do it right now. And
that's
if you
amazing.
sit up tall, and
Oh, I need
if you
that.
want to close your eyes, if that feels comfortable for you, close your eyes. And if you want to, you can just begin to inhale and exhale through your nose. Now, we're in the height of cold flu season, so that might not be in your best interest. So breathe however feels comfortable for you. And then just begin to sit and just start to notice your breath as it enters your body, as it exits. See if you can slow your breathing down a little. Try to take it deeper into the belly. But you're really breathing at your breath pace. And then when you take your next inhale, I want you to think, and even if you want to say, just say, inhale, love. You can say it out loud or just mentally. And then as you exhale, just say, exhale, joy. And then when you're ready to inhale again, just say, inhale, compassion. And then as you exhale, peace. And so as you continue with your deep breathing, you can just think as you inhale, love. Exhale, joy. Inhale, compassion. And exhale, peace. And just continue to do that. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Maybe you're like, I can't even remember the words. So just pick a word, love or peace. And every time you inhale, exhale, just say that in your head. And we're just going to do a few more breaths. One more inhale. One more exhale. And then just when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Just giving yourself a little time for some deep breath, some kind words that create feeling in the body, um, can just help reset how you're feeling during the day and allow you to stay true to who and how you want to be. What did that feel like for you, Amy?
I feel an immediate um, both energy and relaxation at the same
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, a lot of times people think that mindfulness or meditate, like then you're just like, oh, I'm so tired. Giving yourself deep breath and some quiet can actually be quite energizing.
Yeah, it makes me feel ready to make decisions. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I know as a leader we go through our days, right? Just and I know when I'm at a fatigue point because decisions get really hard for me, and I know that's when I'm exhausted. That's a sign for me. So that's how I feel ready to.
Doing a focused deep breath exercise like that with, you don't have to have the loving kindness component, but just stopping to inhale, that deep breath awareness, and only focusing on the breath. Every time the mind wants to wander, just I'm focusing on my breath, is actually a tool you can use when you do need to focus and make decisions.
To get grounded.
Yep.
That's what it feels like is
Mhm.
grounding.
Yeah.
And so much of our leaders are moving through a pace in a changing environment where it is necessary to jump and move around a lot, but your community needs to feel that you're grounded in your strategy. It's such an important part of raising their confidence and in their donations. is
Mhm.
that even amidst the chaos, you're maintaining some level of calm and confidence, even when the stuff is falling apart. Even
Especially when.
especially when we maybe don't hit our exact Giving Tuesday goal. And I pray and I trust most of you will. But should it not come to pass in exactly the way we had set it out to be, there's things we can learn, right? And the way we respond matters. You're such a gift to your community. And that's
Yeah,
why we
absolutely.
wanted to come on today, and really remind you of that. Um, Whether you're in a fundraising campaign or not, your path is noble, and being in integrity with yourself, being the leader you see yourself as, is important for your personal success and the success of your mission.
Mhm.
And such an important part. Leslie, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you. I always love to be able to come on and share some techniques and insight, hopefully.
Well, we are colleagues and we are friends,
Mhm,
and nothing brings me so much joy to spend time with you. We get to talk about the coolest stuff all the
mhm.
time, Leslie. You're one of my favorite people to debrief and brainstorm, vent,
Yeah.
and dream with,
Mhm.
because of your open spirit and your passion for making change accessible for people, whether it's in health or in their personal growth, in their communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all for being here today. We work on all kinds of stuff in the Magnify Your Mission Mastermind. If you want my help, we even have Leslie come in to facilitate some mindful activities for us from time to time. And we do have some openings this month. If you're interested in working with me one-to-one, we have some amazing bonuses. If you want help mapping out your 12-month fundraising plan, this is a great time to message me, and I'll ask you a few questions, send you some information on the mastermind, and get you started right away. Thank you all. Keep up the good work. You are greater than any one result. Your plan is solid. Your vision from your community is important. And remember, changing the world is hard, but fundraising doesn't have to be. Have an awesome rest of your Giving Tuesday.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.